What if I told you that the real reason older men stop caring about love, dating, and relationships has nothing to do with bitterness and everything to do with clarity? Clarity that only comes with age, experience, and decades of emotional lessons that most people never see. Because right now, thousands of senior men in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and beyond, are slowly stepping away from the dating world, not because they're tired, not because they're incapable, not because they've given up on women, but because something inside them finally shifted. This shift didn't happen overnight. It wasn't caused by one heartbreak, one argument, or one moment of disappointment. It happened silently, gradually, through years of observing how relationships change with time. When a man is young, he's driven by emotion, desire, excitement, and the urge to prove himself. He chases, he impresses, he sacrifices. He puts women's needs before his own because he believes that's what being a good man means. But once he crosses 50, 60, or 70, something powerful happens. He finally begins to see his own value. He becomes more aware of patterns he ignored when he was younger. Behaviors he once accepted without question suddenly become impossible to tolerate. He becomes more selective, more thoughtful, and more protective of his heart, his time, and his peace. Most senior men don't talk about this transformation. They don't express it openly. They don't make emotional speeches or explain why they're pulling away. Instead, they withdraw quietly. If someone asks, they give simple answers like, "I'm focusing on myself. I don't have the energy for drama. I'm fine on my own." But inside, the truth is much deeper. Senior men finally understand that their emotional energy is priceless, and they refuse to spend it in places that don't value it. As they age, they no longer need external approval. They don't chase validation. They don't measure their worth based on a woman's affection. Instead, they start valuing something far more important: peace, stability, and emotional safety. And here's the part women never expect. For many senior men, the absence of romantic chaos feels better than the presence of romantic excitement. They've reached a stage where calmness is more attractive than passion, and respect means more than beauty. But this is only the beginning. Because the first major reason senior men stop caring about women is something no one talks about, a realization that changes everything once it hits. Because in part 2, we uncover the first explosive truth, the moment older men realize that love without peace isn't a love at all. There comes a moment in every older man's life, sometimes at 55, sometimes at 65, sometimes even later, when he wakes up one day and realizes something shocking. Peace feels better than love ever did. Not because love is bad. Not because he no longer cares, not because he's given up on companionship, but because he has finally lived long enough to understand the heavy price of emotional chaos. When men are young, they tolerate a lot. Mood swings, misunderstandings, arguments, expectations, pressure. They handle it all because they think that it's just part of being in a relationship. They believe sacrifice is normal, even when it exhausts them. But senior men? They no longer have the emotional stamina for drama. One misunderstanding that used to be nothing now feels like a burden. A disagreement that once felt small now drains their energy for an entire day. A person who constantly demands attention feels like a weight on the soul. Why? Because their energy is no longer unlimited. Because their heart has already seen enough pain. Because their peace is now the only thing that keeps them healthy, stable, and sane. Older men start noticing something powerful. The more peaceful their life becomes, the clearer their thoughts feel. The calmer their environment, the better their health becomes. The fewer emotional battles they fight, the more alive they feel. And this leads to a life-changing realization. If a woman doesn't bring calmness, she doesn't belong in a senior man's life. Not because he's heartless, but because he finally understands the cost of emotional instability. At this age, stress hits harder. Arguments last longer. Emotional pain takes weeks, not days, to recover from. And he simply refuses to sacrifice the peace he earned through decades of struggle. A senior man wants A gentle tone, not constant tension, respect, not resistance, stability, not surprises, understanding, not assumptions, cooperation, not competition, and when he doesn't find these things, he walks away, not out of anger, but out of self-preservation. He doesn't chase. He doesn't argue. He doesn't beg. He simply steps back, quietly, calmly, and permanently. And this is what surprises women the most. Older men don't break down or fight. They just disappear emotionally, leaving behind a silence that speaks louder than words. But this is only the first reason, because the second truth, the one we cover in the next part, explains why senior men become almost immune to emotional manipulation, guilt, or pressure. In part 3, we reveal the next powerful shift, the moment older men stop caring about winning love and start caring about protecting themselves. There's a powerful shift that happens in a man's mind as he grows older, a shift that women rarely expect, but every senior man eventually experiences. It's the moment he becomes completely immune to emotional pressure, guilt, or manipulation. When men are young, they're easy to influence emotionally. A few tears, a bit of attitude, a silent treatment, or a dramatic reaction can push them into apologizing, changing themselves, or giving more than they receive. They fear losing the woman, so they overcompensate. After 60, that fear disappears. A senior man no longer responds to emotional games because he has finally learned the patterns. He has seen the tactics, lived through the manipulation, and learned from the experiences that once broke him. He can now see intention behind behavior. He can sense emotional shifts instantly. He can detect dishonesty before a single word is spoken. And the most shocking part? Older men don't argue, they detach. If someone tries to guilt trip him, he disconnects. If someone raises their voice, he walks away. If someone tries to control him, he shuts the door quietly. If someone plays hot and cold, he stops participating. He doesn't confront. He doesn't debate. He doesn't explain. He simply withdraws his emotional availability. Why? Because he's spent decades learning that manipulation is not love, it's control. And he refuses to be controlled at this stage of his life. He knows emotional pressure looks like, if you loved me, you would. You don't care about me anymore. Do what I say or I'll leave. You owe me after everything I've done. You can't survive without me. Older men no longer fall for these lines. He knows exactly who he is and no one can shake that anymore. This is also why senior men become more selective. They don't avoid women out of bitterness. They avoid the ones who drain their emotional energy. They avoid people who romanticize chaos. They avoid relationships that feel like obligations instead of partnerships. A senior man wants a relationship where he can breathe, not suffocate. Where he feels respected, not controlled. Where he feels understood, not manipulated. And if he doesn't find that, he would rather stay alone than lose himself trying to make someone else happy. But this leads to the next major truth, the one women almost never consider. Because what senior men want from relationships is completely different from what they used to want in their younger years. In part 4, we uncover the third major shift, why senior men start valuing emotional comfort over romantic excitement, and how this changes everything. And youth men want thrill. They want excitement, desire, fireworks, and the rush of being wanted. But once a man crosses 60, something inside him evolves. He no longer searches for sparks, he searches for stability. To him, the most attractive thing in the world is not beauty, but comfort. Not dramatic passion, but emotional ease. Not intense obsession, but consistent companionship. A senior man wants someone he can sit with quietly without feeling pressured to entertain. Someone whose presence feels peaceful, not overwhelming. Someone who doesn't expect him to perform, prove, or pretend. Someone who doesn't bring unnecessary storms into his life. He's had his share of drama. He's seen enough breakups. He's survived arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional turbulence. Senior men don't want to fight for love anymore. They want love that doesn't require fighting in the first place. At this stage, a woman's attitude matters more than her appearance. Her kindness matters more than her style. Her patience matters more than her charm. Her character matters more than her confidence. And here's the truth most women never realize. Older men don't lose interest in women, they lose interest in chaos. If a relationship feels peaceful, he will give his whole heart. If it feels exhausting, he will quietly step away. There is a moment, quiet, powerful, and life-changing, when a man finally understands his value. And for many men, this realization doesn't happen at 25, 35, or even 45. It happens after 60. It's at this age that a man sees his entire life in front of him, everything he has survived, everything he has built, every storm he stood through, even when no one knew what it cost him. And this is the moment something awakens inside him. He finally stops apologizing for who he is, and starts appreciating himself. For decades, men give. They provide, they sacrifice, they bend, they compromise. They carry burdens quietly. They suppress emotions in order to keep the peace. Once a man discovers his worth, he becomes impossible to manipulate, impossible to pressure, and impossible to control. He chooses peace, he chooses respect, he chooses himself. And because of that, he becomes more powerful than ever. So when older men walk away from drama, manipulation, or disrespect, they're not giving up, they're leveling up. They are choosing a life that honors the man they've become after decades of lessons. Because once a senior man knows his worth, something incredible happens. He doesn't just change his relationships, he changes his entire life. If you want an extra part on the kind of women senior men actually prefer, just say,